Good morning from me, and welcome to another episode of What Now Irishman. My conversation partner today is a guy called Anthony Keenan. He is well known from various different Irish spaces on X. He's talking to me from the other side of the world, 11-hour time difference. So it's good morning from me and good evening to you, Anthony. Welcome to the show.
How are you, Martin? Very nice to be here. Hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm still amazed sometimes by technology that I can actually talk to somebody and see them from the other side of the world. You know what I mean? I'm that age group where this stuff didn't exist when I was small, so it is pretty cool to be talking to somebody from the other side of the world. What time is it over there?
Yeah, it's 7:52 now, so just short of 8 p.m. here. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
and
polar opposite. I'm polar opposite to where I was born. So just off just off the coast of Wexford is the line flips around again on the Google Earth. So
wow,
yeah,
very very
it's
cool.
not. Yeah, I'm not far off polar opposite. Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw the question at you, and we'll see where it goes. What now, Irishman?
Yeah, well, what now? Yeah, that is the thing. Yeah, I guess I arrived onto the X spaces like where I met yourself. I guess through uh, I had a political interest. I always had a political interest in life, and it was something that like since I was young, we would have been out canvassing for Fianna Fáil, and always there with the old fella and the uncle, and we'd always be in the thick of the action when the time came to that, and being away from home then. You look at it from a completely different perspective because you see the media sharing the stories of the Irish politicians and how they're treating the Irish people. And then you hear the same story coming from people on the RTE side of things. And you'd hear, yourself listening to the local radio from over here. You can get it on the digital radio system. So I could hear the same news stories being spread across Ireland. And I'm like, wow, like they're telling them lies in Ireland and the people over here are laughing at them, telling them lies. And I was amazed at how different the media was, and how like you wouldn't get to see the same media links or the same kind of stories that I would be seeing over here. And even when I shared some of the stories with the lads, they like, I can't open that. We can't like they couldn't open them links in Ireland. Like just as recently as the Bulgaria protests, there was some of them videos being shared, and none of them were able to be opened in Ireland, which was very concerning to me.
Would you
And I
would
was
you
like,
believe that that is Commission a Man, our censorship board?
yeah, no, I do know. I've learned about him, and I've learned about that process and what they're doing there, and how the kind of the the mess that they have over the people. Like they'll show them what they want them to see, and that's what drew me in here was that concerning point about like the way that the stories were being spread.
So you're in New Zealand, right? And I'm going to go back a few years. Okay, so join me asking how long are you out there?
Yeah, I'm in New Zealand 13 years now. Just after the earthquakes that happened in Christchurch.
Oh wow, yeah, Jesus, I'd actually forgotten about those. So look, you're well set up. You're well established there. You've got your family there. Um, New Zealand went through something similar to Ireland in relation to COVID. There was a very unpopular prime minister, Jacinda Ardern, WEF class, whatever you want to call them, inductee, whatever they are. So most
Yeah.
viewers would know what went on with New Zealand, etc., etc., etc. Politically now, where does New Zealand lie? What is it like living there?
Yeah, so at the moment it is in a very bit of it's in a bit of a sticky time now where the new government that formed after that Labour government, so that Labour government was a majority government, and they done quite a bit of damage to the New Zealand policies here. They really ran through law. They ran through a lot of things. They pumped it through very very quickly, and a lot of the stuff that was in that policy was very very concerning. Now, one good aspect on the back of that was the new parties that came in and formed together. It was a three-party coalition that formed a new government. So they all came with their own different ideas as to how the government was going to be laid out moving forward, and what they wanted for their, you know. So we have one prime minister, and we have two deputy, deputy prime minister. So they share it. So they split the roles. They do 6 months apart each, and then they'll step down, and the other one steps in. So the one of them is Winston Peters, who's an old Maori MP of old here. He's been in politics for a very, very long time, and he's trained in law. So that man knows everything about everything, and he knows like how to see straight through people for what they are. So when he came in, he was able to correct a lot of stuff, and he has been doing a lot of great work. And he seems to be the man that's leading the polls now. And the outcome of this now is to see that like the New Zealand people want a good, strong border. They do not want any of that. Like, what's happened after that Labour government, they brought in 130 to 150,000 people. They don't even know, to be honest, because of the way the paperwork was and stuff when they came in here, like documentations and stuff that went missing, and on, like we had very similar things that happened on the planes coming into Ireland. So I do know what happened, and I do know it's the UN, right? It was the UN and the World Economic Forum, and one good thing about New Zealand over the last 6 to 9 months is that government that came in, and that man, that foreign minister Winston Peters, he went to the UN agenda at the end of last year. He told them, that's it, we're done, we're out, we're not doing any more of this. It's too woke for us now. We don't want any more of this, bringing anything into our country anymore. We're locking it up. So they've they secured, and they pulled themselves out of the WHO and the World Economic Forum just recently as well. So they've pulled themselves right back from all of that now, which is very good.
That's fantastic. So again, to talk about New Zealand, but actually, you know what? We're going to be talking about immigration, so we'll talk about it now. So you are an Irish immigrant in New Zealand. Tell me about all the free stuff you got when you moved to New Zealand.
Oh, no, Jesus, no, I didn't get any of that. No, none of that. No, so I guess what happened for me, the journey was like I started off life. I had a difficult time in school, but I went and done my LCA and my NCVA and my LCA 1 and 2, and I got out of school early and young. And I went in originally. I did some fishing just as I was leaving school, and just as I was coming to the end of that, I did some deep sea fishing, out on 10-day trawls and 5-day, and I did a lot of that out of Kilmore in Wexford, and then I realised very, very quickly that was a tough life. Like them men are fucking hardy, like, and the lads that stick to it are really like, the salt of the earth, really, when you think about hard-working men. But I left that then, and I looked at I had my leaving cert then, so I looked at possibilities, and I went into hotel management. Actually, was my first role. I went into the Ferry Carrig, and I tried to become a hotel manager. So I did a trainee hotel management course, and I lasted a number of months. I done one part of my training, and then the next part of my training was the kitchen, and I lost out in there. I came head to head with the head chef, and then boom, like it was like out the door. And so I got into the steel industry, and I stuck with that. I stayed with that for a decade or so in Ireland, working hard there, and then I went into heavy rigging, and I got through. I got through the whole crisis points, I guess, by being in a skilled role. So I was able to get through the 2008 and right through all. I worked through all of that, but all my friends left. Everyone left. Everyone was gone. It was like the village was empty. So I went traveling then myself. I only took off to go traveling originally. I went off and done a bit of traveling. I went across Australia. I drove from Perth up to Darwin. But then, unfortunately, when I got to Darwin, I got the news that my mother was very, very ill. and I realized that she wasn't going to make it very long. So I had to. Um, I dropped everything, lad. I dropped my bags. I dropped anything that I had with me traveling, and I just went home. And yeah, I went home anyway, and it just something didn't feel right. I went home, and I just it didn't feel the same, lad. It something told me when I was standing there. Something told me like you just need to go again. Like something like because like when I looked around, all my friends were still away at the time, and anyone that was there was just heavily drinking and heavily caught up in a system where it was like Thursday to Sunday, every week. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to get stuck in that. So I did. I took off again, and I went back to my bags in Darwin, and then I ended up back in Perth. And then the earthquakes happened. So my sister was in New Zealand at the time, and the earthquakes happened in Christchurch, and she was living there. And then so the whole place came crumbling to the ground. But my training, I guess, was all to do with heavy steel. So they needed people like myself to come to New Zealand and give a hand in. So I went in anyway, and I got onto some huge projects in Christchurch. We got through the borders. The army and stuff had borders up, but we had to go in, to protect, to try and rescue these buildings. And yeah, it was some amazing work. It was some very, very dangerous work, but Jesus Christ, it was amazing to put them structures together. And even the cathedral there in Christchurch, I was one of the first ones in there to help to
Wow.
put some structure up in there. Yeah, and I know it's after been a pain to the country since, but yeah, there was a lot of really cool buildings. I developed then. I went into some really cool engineering structures in there because of the fact that the earthquakes were happening, and we ended up building these shock absorber, big massive shock absorbers for the base of the buildings, so you could put them in under the ground, and then the building sits on top of them, and it's like any rocking that happens, the building will it will go out of the building, and all the liquid fraction will come out underneath it, so all of these designs were mental, absolutely mind blowing. All the new technology that they were bringing in there, all designed in the UAE and in these massive, structures that they were building over there. So yeah, it was amazing, lad. And then yeah, I left. I left Christchurch then to do a bit of traveling around, and I seen that how beautiful the country was. Jesus Christ, it was so beautiful. It was like Ireland on steroids. It's got gold rivers. It's got massive high mountains. It's got snow in the ranges. It's got anything that you could think of to do with um, living an adrenaline filled life. You're going to find it here, on your doorstep. So. Yeah, I came down south, and then boom, I was back home again. I honestly felt like I was back home. The people, the town, the way it was, it was just like, God, I feel like home. So I ended up meeting a girl here, and then yeah, that's my life changed then. In so many ways. It's hard to explain, but yeah, very, very weird since we met. I had a shoulder surgery. So I injured myself just before we'd met. So I was waiting for a shoulder surgery on my right shoulder. I had torn my rotator cuff, which I managed to wait for a while, but I had to get it repaired. So I got that repaired anyway. And then after about 6 months of that repair going, I was in physio and it was going well. So I was like, boom, I can go back to work. So I went back to work. I went back to work in this company. Actually, I went back into the hire company, and I learned about the workings of the machinery, and I was just delivering machinery for them and dropping it off to sites and stuff. And while I was continuing to recover, and then I took on a role then. So there was a massive steel job going on here at the time, and I was feeling a lot better. And I went into some contracting then for myself. I started working for myself, contracting, and I took on a couple of years, 2.5 years or so of that. And then in the middle of that, the project was coming to an end. I was fairly happy with what I was doing, but a guy came to me with a job offer Said, "You want a job offer?" I said, "No, I'm all right. I'm happy enough what I'm doing." And then he's like, "All right, okay." Came back to me again, offered me a job. I was like, "Fuck, I can't say no to that, right? Okay." So I accepted, and I was in that job for 4 weeks, lad. And I was up on a roof, and it was after a job after being done that day, and I went and stepped onto the scaffolding, but the ladder wasn't connected to the scaffold anymore. So it slipped away from and I went the opposite direction then, and I went upside down, and my foot was caught in the ladder, so it flipped me over, and I was up like right on my head when I hit the ground. So
Mm.
I tried to put my arm out, but my left arm then got torn off backwards, and I fractured the left side of my skull off the ground. So I fractured broke my cheekbone, and I broke all my face bones, and so I
Jesus.
splattered that off the ground. But then I was very lucky that it was like the left side of my brain, where it was it's affected me mentally, but it's not affected my capability to be able to think or talk, or, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's affected my empathy. It's affected my physical. Like if I could do something now physically and I wouldn't even remember I've done it. I've
Yeah.
got to be very conscious when I'm doing something physically, because I could turn on an oven and I'd forget that I've turned it on. Or I could go out and turn on the heater to dry something, and then I go back the next day and I was like, "Oh Jesus Christ, the heater's still on." I completely forget I've turned. I do things, so I have to be very, very conscious of that. Um, and then yeah, my emotions are all over the place with because of the front temporal lobe. It affects your emotions a lot, and how I'm a lot more empathetic and a lot more I guess, yeah, emotionally strong. It's getting better now. I am learning, but
Mm. Well,
yeah,
I've heard you speak on numerous occasions. I never knew that you. I must have missed that story. I didn't realize that you had such an accident. So you've actually had a serious brain injury, like.
yeah. I was bleeding on the front temporal lobe. Yeah, I have a scar there, a 6 mil scar in there. So it is still, it still does affect my brain function to a certain extent, I guess, on the physical side of things, and the way I act and stuff like that, and fatigue. Fatigue is terrible. The fatigue was terrible there. Jesus Christ, I could hardly open my eyes for 18 months or so. I was I was like sleeping most of the day. It was
Yeah.
like a baby.
And how long is it since that injury?
It's a couple of years now. It's 2.5 years nearly. Now, yeah, since that, or 3.5 years. Is it?
Wow.
9th to the 11th, 2022. So 3.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus, I didn't know that. Like, so in a sense, you're lucky to actually be here having the bloody conversation with me. Like, that's
Oh, 100%. And as I've said, my life only began, Martin. Like, it only began after that day. So we'd lost a baby just before I fell. We had a miscarriage in the month before I fell. And then when I fell, then obviously, my wife thought, her life is over. My life was over. She was looking at me intubated and in a coma, and she was like, "Fuck's sake, we never got to do anything." You know what I mean? It was like that.
yeah.
So as soon as I got better, I was still half fucked, and she was like straight in there, we need to have a child, I want to have a baby with you. So straight into it, we got into it as soon as I was nearly ready, and we had a baby then, and my baby boy was born nearly just a year on after I fell. He was on the anniversary, more or less. My first baby boy was born, and
All I have to say is good woman.
I know.
Good
She was
fucking woman.
that. Yeah, she was straight in there. She was like, "No, I need to have this now. I'm not letting this go again." And yeah, in fairness, she was 100% correct, because they're beautiful. The two of them, the little fella is unbelievably amazing. He's 2.5 now, nearly, and he's already doing his 2 times tables up to 30. Knows his dinosaurs. Knows
Brilliant. Yeah.
all the
I'll tell you
counting
what.
and stuff.
I'll give you a small piece of advice. Enjoy them when they're that small. It goes so fast. It
I
goes.
know.
All mine are grown up now, so it's a case of like there's no when there stops
No,
being
I know. I've
yeah.
got nieces and nephews there in Ireland, and it's like I've just blinked and they're fucking, they're teenagers now, thinking about coming over to me. That's kind of
Oh, brilliant! That's very good. So we talk about your life in New Zealand. So we kind of hit the work bit. Look, you met a. Is she a New Zealander? Is she
Yeah, she's a Kiwi. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you set up your life. You're an example of positive migration. You went out, you set yourself up. You work, you contribute. Are you naturalized there, or are you a citizen, or?
No, no, not a citizen yet. No, no, I can do all that. I am a permanent resident. But
Yeah, yeah,
I haven't done any of the um swearing allegiance yet. But I can do, and I will do. Like at some stage, I'd say, like just to to be with the boys, I guess.
yeah. And what's day-to-day life like over there? Not work thing. Like I know a bit. I've never been to New Zealand, but I know a small bit about it, and I know a small little bit about Maori culture. But what's the pace of life like over there? Is it the same as here? Is it faster? Is it slower? Is everybody chill? Is it?
No, it's pretty much similar. Like if you went into Auckland, you'd be very much like it's like Dublin multiplied by 10. You know what I mean? It's like it's the same kind of layout in the city center and stuff like that. It's just a lot bigger, and it's like, but it's very very similar. Like when you go into the towns and the cities and stuff, you get that. Like you get that. What would you say? Like you get the busyness of life, and then you can go down to the smaller towns or the areas around, and you quickly realize that life is a lot more laid back, and people are like not accustomed to that rush every day to get everything done so fast, and yeah, it's just where you want to go, where you want to be, how fast you want to live your life. It's got the same aspects of it to Ireland. You could live in Dublin if you want, but like you don't have to. You can live on the outskirts. And
Who's not living in Dublin?
I
No
know, but
offense.
you know what I mean.
No,
Like
it's
they're
cool.
the most expensive houses in the country. It's the same in Auckland. Like you're talking about nearly $2 million. Like average house price now. I'd say up there.
What's
It's
the
immense.
what's the cost of living like over there? Is it similar to here? Like, what's energy cost? What's your loaf of bread cost? What's your eggs cost?
Yeah, it's very very similar. Like when you break down the dollar to euro ratio, it's a very very similar style of living. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It feels like your money goes a lot further. You know what I mean? It just feels like your money goes a lot further.
Hmm.
As a person, it just feels like your wages and stuff. It goes further. That's all. That's the only way I could describe it. Is that like it's like you just seem to have a little bit more extra in your pocket, like than when you were in Ireland. It just seemed like you were barely getting by on the week to week.
Yeah, yeah. Has the and I put it in inverted commas, has the fuel crisis hit New Zealand yet?
It has, yes. Like that's another thing that Labour government done. They took away our ability to be able to refine our own oil. We had our own refinery, and in 2020 or whenever they decided that they'd order that to be shut down and closed up.
Mm. The green
And
the green agenda.
yeah, 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 yeah. That whole Paris Accord or whatever the fuck they're going by, like the carbon emissions that they're measuring in the atmosphere. That like, what are they doing? Putting up balloons to measure how much carbon that you're producing. Like,
Listen, look,
come
you and
on.
I, yeah, you and I both know we're the carbon they want to replace. So that's
I
the
know,
that's the
yeah, that's it.
that's
Yeah, they want us all eats the bugs, like as he says himself, eats the bugs.
would you know many actual natives, the indigenous population, many of the Maori? Are they the tribes down your neck of the woods?
Yeah, yeah. So not necessarily. I wouldn't know any of the tribal leaders, but I'm friendly enough with quite a few of the lads that are like, I guess, in the um in the tribes, like the family orientated people. Like I know quite a few. But the tribe kind of thing, they keep kind of that to themselves in a sense. Like they'll keep a lot of that to the Marais and stuff, where they kind of like they've separated themselves from society now as well in a certain sense. Like they've taken back a lot of their own land and stuff from the crown. And
So they're like they're the Maori are recognized as an indigenous island people, aren't they?
They're recognized. Yeah, that was a very good word that you used, because it's recognized as, because the Morioris were here first. Like, so, if you when you learn about the history of the land, like there was a tribe here, the Morioris, and they were on the land. And when the Maoris came from the Pacifica or from the Polynesia, they ended up um, hitting land and actually hunting down the Morioris. So the Morioris actually had to escape the land, and they went to an island off the coast here called the Chatham Islands, and they set up base down there. And they have a small tribe still living today down there, um, and they have been repaid by the crown for the fact that they've been for the fact that they have been you know, uh, taken
Displaced, so
off
to
their
speak.
land.
Yeah.
Yeah, displaced off their land. Now, they weren't given their land back, obviously,
Mm.
because the Maoris still lay claim to the land, but they were given reparations.
that's a funny one, isn't it? That there is, it doesn't matter how far back you go, there was always somebody bigger and badder fucking you off your land. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It does.
they were eating them as well. That was a scary part of it when you think back on these fellas. Like, they were eating them. Like,
Yeah,
they were like, and even the tribes when it came to it now, like, so the the tribes were eating each other when the Brits came here 200 years ago.
mm,
And it was only then that they came to the table and they formed treaties. So, like, I know stories like that would fucking haunt you for the rest of your life, like, with them, and how they used to, like, hunt local tribes people and young tribesmen of their, like the tribes that were close by.
yeah.
It's, yeah, I wouldn't even want to
It's
share it here, because it
it's
probably would lead to a lot of, like,
I, I don't know. I don't know if we were ever that bad, but we were the same in Ireland. Our Tuas were all little small kingdoms. There was about 150 of them. You know what I mean? And it was a case of you're. It's the same ethos as the GA has. You know what I mean? The next village over is your worst enemy. Um, and that's who you
yeah,
do
and
the cat. Yeah, that's who you do the
it,
cattle raids on, and that's where you get your slaves from. It was always your next door neighbor.
yeah, it is, and it's kind of a good way to build society. Like, have that rivalry there, because I guess you learn the respect of your neighbors very, very quickly as well. Then, as long as you don't, like, you can stay away from the violence. That rivalry and that, like, that, like, local or whatever, focusing on your own community and, like, keeping your tribe strong and making sure everyone's strong around that area. Like, that's what we need to go back to. Like, that's what we've lost.
Yeah, and there was very, very clearly defined borders. There was always a rock or a tree or a whatever that actually
Yeah,
said where the land was, and if you cross into this now, you're fair game. Like, it's I love the concept of tribalism. I like the idea of it, and I think we need, as a solution to the woes the world face, we just need to go back to being small little tribes, and we don't need global entities. We don't need Amazon, Timu, and all that nonsense. We just need to go back to our local tribes, live a nice, simple little life, try your best not to do any harm. When harm comes your way, be brave enough to stand up and say, "F you, get out of my little kingdom here," and then just, like, get on with your neighbors. The protests there in even yesterday or Saturday in Foynes, the sense of community. Uh, I haven't seen it in so long. Like, the amount of food that was brought along, the amount of people that were coming in just for a chat and dropping off this, that, and the other. It was just, I was just there. Why can't we live like this every day? Why can't this happen every weekend? That the community gets together and everybody just brings an apple tart or coffee or tea or anything like that. We'll all just stand around and have a conversation and have a chat and stuff like that, and then disperse. It's a pity. It's a pity we have to wait until the country is on its knees and people are broken financially, emotionally, spiritually. It's a pity we have to be pushed to that before people will actually get back together and break bread and have conversations and stuff like that. What would your thoughts on that be? That we've lost our identity and sense of community.
yeah, that's not just Ireland. That's actually a global push. Like, they've done it. Like, they've removed that whole gathering technique. Like the community festivals, the well-being festivals, the I guess the hippie ways that were of the people that would bring us all out there and be happy and joyful, and the car boot, like even the car boot sales nowadays, the person doesn't even want to be out talking to you. They'll just open up their boot and sit in the car, and then hopefully that you'll come up and purchase something. And then I don't know, everything is just like, it's gone so weird since the social media and since like all of that has come out. Like, people feel like they're connected. Like me and you, we're talking from the opposite sides of the world, right? Same as me and my dad all the time, and the lads with my dad. But he's like, I've never felt so close to them, but so far away. Like, they know who I am. They see me all the time. They call me granddad, but I've never been able to give them a cuddle, like, and actually feel, their presence. And that shocks me like that. I'm like, yes, I feel that same way. But how many other people in society feel like they're connected to people now, but really inside their body is not getting the energy that they need from them connections? And like that energy that you're feeling out on the road, talking to these people in that community spirit where you're gathering and there's hundreds of you around, and the buzz, you can hear the buzz of people's voices and everyone's chitter chatter all around. Like, that's what life is about, to be alive as a human being. But we've all lost that. We're all lost in our houses. We're lost in our bedrooms. We feel like we put the headset on and the goggles on and or whatever, and then get into the screen. Boom! Now you're in this new world, and this is the world you're going to explore. And I'm like, why are you exploring that world? Where, like, why are you not out exploring the world that we live in? That's what they're taking away from us. They don't want people out exploring the world. In fact, they want the opposite. They want everybody in their houses so that the world and the riches of the world are left to them.
Yeah.
And
The
that's really
WEF
what it's
said,
about.
the WEF said it. The little weasel, I can't remember his name. He was Klaus Schwab's
Klaus
kind of.
Schwab. Yeah, yeah, I
No,
know
but
the
Klaus Schwab, yeah, no, he has this guy, something Yoel something, or he's called the Prophet, and he did a TED talk once where he said basically, yeah, we're going to control the useless eaters with narcotics and video games, and that's essentially, he said that out loud. Like, that's this for it, these are great. You have all the knowledge at your fingertips. A mobile phone is a brilliant thing because it basically replaces your encyclopedias and whatnot. It's a wealth of knowledge, but it's also a very destructive tool, with algorithms, rhythms designed to keep you preoccupied with nonsense. And that's the unfortunate side of it. Now, ask me to put it down. I go, no, because it's my newspaper, it's my encyclopedias, it's my method of contacting people. You know what I mean? But also, it probably consumes about 4 hours of my day every single day, of time I'm not getting back, and pretty much on nonsense. You know what I mean? Stuff that you don't need to be reading or seeing or.
Yeah, and it's very interesting point you made about the encyclopedia and the information that you take off your phone, right? So, like, I was the same. I'd read the phone as well and look at the phone. But then I'm looking at the meanings of the word and how they've changed. Like, just say since 2019 to 2021, they changed the meaning of the word for vaccination. So a vaccination used to mean eliminate a virus in its host, in a person as and in its host.
Mhm.
So you're eliminating something. But now these new forms that they're giving people is more like a therapy or more like a medication, because you're giving it to them multiple times over. It's not, you can't call that a vaccination then, but they've brought it in under the umbrella of vaccination because of the way that the system works in there. They don't have to prove anything. They were able to just bring that out to the people, give it to them. But if they brought that in as a medicine, they wouldn't have been able to do that same thing, because they would have had to get it all done and approved and board approved and all of that. But because of the way that they done it, the medical assessors around the world just said, yeah, don't worry, go ahead. And now they're like,
Kids,
oh, fuck. Now they're realizing, oh my God, what have we done to our people? We've destroyed our people. We've harmed a lot of people with what we've done.
are they
Oh my
admitting that
God.
in New Zealand now? Are they actually
Yeah, yeah,
admitting
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they are. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they've come now. They're after bringing on all of the reactions to the COVID-19, like all the different heart trouble and even now the turbo cancers that are arriving in people very, very quickly. A good number of people. Yeah, they're doing. So they done a COVID inquiry, right? So it was done through the Crown, through the British establishment, I guess. But when they done it, the Labour government were still in power, so they were able to kind of do whatever they wanted to do. And in the meetings that they had, they were able to kind of have kosher meetings. Oh, don't worry about us. We'll say whatever we want to say. But then in the end, it turns out that like they re-inquired it. So the new government came in and they put in another, and now that's when all of the stuff is after coming out in the second COVID inquiry. And they've asked Jacinda to come back and talk, but she won't face up to the music at all. So yeah, that's very concerning. She's saying I've already answered my questions. They're saying you haven't. You didn't do anything of the sort. You answered the questions that you were, like they framed up to you, but you didn't
Yeah.
do anything for yourself. Well, it is what it is.
Well, look, fair play to the New Zealand government, because they're well ahead of where we are. Our COVID inquiry is a joke, and I can't see any political entity in Ireland, regardless who gets in power, actually doing a proper COVID inquiry ever, because they know they're all liable, they're all culpable for putting harm on the Irish people. Sorry, just bear with me for 1 second. I just need to. I didn't want to be coughing in your ear there. Of a small bit of a head cold.
Okay.
So, were you harmed by the COVID years?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, sure. Look, I lost a good contract in the middle of that there. Yeah, it was like I was working for a group, and yeah, they asked me one day when I walked onto the site. Your man was like to me, he walked up to me and he said, "Look, oh, you're going to have to do this and you're going to have to do that." And I looked him in the eye and I said, "Have to do? Do you realize who are you talking to?" And he was just like, "Oh well, you have to do this." And I was like, I just looked at him again and I said, "Who are you talking to? Are you talking to me? You are not going to tell me anything like I have to do anything. What are you asking me to do?" I asked him. And then he said, "Oh, well, uh, the government are saying that, everybody that goes inside here and does this kind of work, they all need to have their, passport or whatever." And I was just like, "No, no, no, no." I was like, "That's not happening." And he was like, "Oh, well, it is like, can't work for us then." And I was like, "Well, I tell you what then, like, what you can do right now is send me an email to say that I'm done. Like, I'm finished right now. I don't need me notice. Don't need anything. I'm agreeing with you right here, right now. You tell me, send me an email. I'm right in front of you. You send me a quick email to say, yeah, it's all null and void or whatever, and I'll walk away right now." He's like, "What?" "Yeah, let's go. I'm done." So I'll get my tools and I'll leave site. So anyway, I started packing up my stuff. He's like, "Oh, you can get this." I got a few bits done that was there on the day that I needed to tidy up, like, because as a steel worker, like, you don't ever want to leave jobs half done in case the next person comes in behind you and gets harmed. So I'll always think about the next lad coming after me,
Yeah.
So I went back, I made everything right. I set everything up correctly, had everything ready to go for the lads that would have came on after me. And yeah, I walked out the door and I said, "Look, thanks, whatever, like, look after yourselves." And he was just like shaking his head as I was walking out the gate. And I said, I at the end of the day, I wasn't doing anything for anybody. When someone said to me, "You have to do this and you have to do that," I was just like, "Fuck, no, I've never done that." I was never good at that in my life. And I wasn't going to start as an adult, like that someone says you have to do this or you have to do that. So, I found my way through it. I had a couple of other lads that were building like farm sheds and stuff at the time that needed help, and they were like already after ringing me before that, and I already pushed them away because I was in like the bigger contracts, like in the bigger like buildings that would last you a year or two, like at a time, instead of like going doing a farm shed that would last you 3 or 4 weeks and you have to go and do another one. But no, I got on really well with the lads then, and yeah, so then I had about a year or so after it then, as it was all kind of dying back down again, and they pulled the restrictions and they pulled the COVID passports or whatever. yeah, the phone start buzzing again, you know. Oh, will you come back to me? Come back and work for me. I was like, go fuck yourself. Like, sorry, but like, no. Like, it's like, no way. I would never, if it was the last job in the country, even though I really enjoyed the lads that were there, what a great group of lads that were involved in that. They've done some huge projects since I was there with them and very proud of them. So, but no, I wasn't never going to ever go back down to that again, you know, even though it was one of the best jobs I've ever had. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I had to stand
COVID,
my ground.
COVID was quite odd for me. Actually, everyone would say I was never in the building trade. It's funny. You said you started in hotel management. You know what I mean? That you went and did that. I actually did that after school as well. I did it for a year in college in Galway, and
Yeah.
that wasn't for me. But I was the opposite. I actually took to the kitchen. I actually liked that mad fucking tempered environment and stuff like that. So I actually was a chef for a few years until I went into kind of industrial catering, and that went into then facilities management for multinationals.
Yeah.
Um, but I was never affected by we say the because I wasn't in the building trade, so to speak. I was never affected by the economic downturn. Now I never had a penny. I started life young. I was married and had the house bought when I was 23. But I never had an awful lot, so I never lost anything, if you know what I mean. It was just basically living month to month, you know what I mean, and that was it. That was grand. Didn't have a lot. Could cover the bills and live a fairly comfortable life. Built myself up, trained myself day to day to day. Got bigger and bigger roles. Went into higher end management. It was all great. It was fine, and I worked for Aldi for just shy of a decade as well, until they got sick of my mouth. But they during COVID, I was working subcontracting for Boston Scientific that were making pacemakers at the time. So I got classed as a health worker. So I had to drag myself into work every single day all through COVID. But I could pay my taxes and I could fucking be a worker bee, but I couldn't go for a pint, couldn't go to the restaurant, couldn't go to the cinema, couldn't attend stuff with my children. Like it was funny. I was still playing rugby at the time, and out of 40 odd people that were active players, these were all young men. I think I was the oldest lad in the dressing room at that stage. I'm the only person who didn't take the vaccine. I'm the only fucking person. And I just pray every time those lads go out in the fucking field now that I'm just thinking, oh God, which one of them is going to drop? Which one of them is going to drop?
No,
And they all said,
no.
they all laughed. Now, like every single one of them came back to me afterwards, after a couple of years later, and went, fuck, you were right. You were right. I was the crazy owl lad in the corner. And I was there, lads, don't do this. And they were all just laughing. Oh, get the pizza, go for a pint. Oh, we need pints, we need holidays. Oh, jeez, I want to go to a beat and stuff like that. My own son, because we got to play 2 seasons together on the same team. It's just the funniest thing in the world. But he even said it now. He's in the army, so he really didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? It was a case of fucking if you don't take it, they just kick you out. Like,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah. Jesus
so
Christ, yeah.
so he has 2 shots now. He just says it himself now. He said I wouldn't be surprised if we and his partner took it as well. He said I wouldn't be surprised if we're not able to have children. If you know what I mean, that they're
Yeah,
well
yeah,
established
all
now.
that shit. Yeah, yeah. Damages. It's done so much damage. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's tragic, but it's terrible in the sense. This is why we kind of said off camera. We talked briefly about IQ and low IQ people and stuff like that, and there's a certain amount of indoctrination. And there's a certain amount of propaganda, but at the end of the day, we all have antenna. We all have senses. We feel things in the air. If you're any way attached to the energy of the world, you can feel things, and everybody must have felt in their gut there's something not right about this. There just is something not right about this, and that's what I find hard to understand. I'm not special. I just listen to my instincts, so to speak, and my instincts were saying there's something off here. There's something not right. No, I'm not taking that. I don't take paracetamol. I'd have to have a fucking a bone broken before I'll take painkillers, if you know what I mean. So why would I take this? And I know most people would be like me, like, you know what I mean? You fucking cut yourself badly, fucking bit of super glue and tape it up and on you know what I mean? I'm from that generation, you know what I mean? If you're if there isn't a bone sticking out from the skin, you're probably going to be fine. You know, that kind of a way.
No,
But
100%. I'm the very same as yourself, and like like the one thing after I fell, right, and you'd feel like after a brain injury that you'd be all distorted and all over the place and stuff like that, right? I actually wasn't. It was the medication that they put me on. They put me on gabapentin and amitriptyline, right, as a mixture, a combination. So because of when I fell, I obviously tore so much fucking shit off, like in me neck and in me shoulder and all, that I was like, they when they put the the drip and all into me, all my arm filled up. I was covered in blood clots. Like the whole arm was just like filled up with
Oh,
blood. So like they had to put it into the other arm. So then like I had all these nerve blockers in, and I had all this stuff done to me, right? Which I was like in a coma, and like I was coming out of a coma, right? And then all of a sudden, then when I came to, when I was back at home, like they were still feeding me. I was still taking this stuff because it was like assigned to me, and I thought like, oh, if I don't take that, I'm going to die, like, or something. Which turns out then like that, I was after taking it for a few weeks anyway, and I was going mad in the head. I was like, Jesus, like I was going to commit suicide. I was ready to go. I was done. I had no, like, I couldn't see a future. Wasn't able to like lift anything, do anything. I was done. I said it to the wife. I'm done. I'm going to do harm to myself. Like I don't know what I'm going to do. And it was only on my way to the GP. So I booked an appointment at the GP to tell them how I was feeling. Because after a brain injury, it was probably fairly common that people would feel in the way I was feeling. And then all of a sudden, then when I was on the way, I went to the pharmacy on the way in, and the pharmacist looked at me and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he looked at the prescription again, and then he looked at me again, and he's like, and he stood over to the side of the counter and looked at my body, like the size of my body. And I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" So he went back over to his boss, and then he was like, had a chat to him. The two of them come back over to me and said, "Jesus, Anthony, like we can't give you this, man." I was like, "What?" He's like, "We can't give you that. Like, that's toxic. You shouldn't be taking. Have you been taking that?" And like, yeah. It's like, you can't take that. Like, you're too small. Like, the mixture that they had me on was that was the reason why I was feeling the way I was feeling. So all of the emotions, all of the like the dark thoughts, and all of the way I was feeling about myself was actually to do with the medication that they had me on. So I dumped all the medication there and then. I was like, fuck this, I'm not taking that. Went back to my GP, asked them, what's going on? Like, they were like, I can't even find that medication on your chart. But it turns out that because of the hospital that I was in a different location, that the medical charts hadn't crossed over yet digitally. So like they were giving me more medication in a different hospital that was conflicting with the medication that they'd already had me on in the previous hospital.
fucking
So it
hell.
was very dangerous.
Sounds like the Irish Health Service. So it's
Yeah. So that's what got me into the next line of work. Then was that like I had so many issues with the DHB and with the health system that I was like, I picked a lot of holes in their game, and so I had some meetings with them, and the meetings went very well. Just because like I was kind of concerned about their processes and stuff, and I told them like the way from my background in the steel industry, I can tell you like down to the nut and the bolt and where it was, the way it was turned, and what height the piece of steel was at, and where it went in, what location it went in at, what direction it was turned. And you can't tell me like about me. I'm a person. That's a piece of steel. Like, I've got more record of a piece of steel than you have of a person. That's not right, lads. So like I went through with them, some of the steps in the process, and then I addressed a few things with them about my concerns inside the system, and they were like, Jesus, do you want a job? Do you want to come on board? Do you want to do this? And so I ended up picking up like consumer advisory roles, and getting into some regional counseling roles. So like I've been involved in some different projects now around, and
oh wow.
helping them implement them, and yeah, getting them into practice. Yeah. So
And
yeah.
is that and is that through the kind of New Zealand version of the health board, or are these
Yeah.
being?
So it is in a sense. It depends on the different. So he put me in through. He put me into a consumer advisory group, I guess, or he put me into the national grid, I guess, as for consumer advisors. And so then we'll get like different messages into our inbox to say, oh, do you want to take part in this project or this project, or do you have any skills that would help us on this project or this project? So
Yeah.
wherever you feel like you can have a good like input, or where you feel like you could be very productive, or you can bring something to the table, then you'll jump in and you'll say, yes, I can give my advice in here, or I can, I can help you, support you in here, or I can
Yeah.
advise him to advise you, or what, you know what I mean? So
Is it
it's interesting.
is that would say a government project kind of designed to get the actual real people on the ground, to get real, rather than civil servants making decisions that the
Exactly. Yeah. So they picked them up like that in the same regard way I was picked up, I guess, where if you're going through the systems and you have fall through the cracks, but you're able to kind of, visualize where you've went through the crack and bring that to their attention, then they look at that, as a
yeah,
way,
yeah,
oh, well,
yeah.
he's able to, like, so
So
like,
it's
yeah,
it's a real time repair system. So for systems, you know what I mean. It's basically you identify the leak, and then you're basically fucking trying to plug it then with knowledge and experience.
yes, yeah. So like that's the thing. Like with the system, one of the things that I found with the system was that when you're in hospital as a patient, a lot of the times, like your family member, your wife or your girlfriend or even your daughter or son would want to stay with you and be there with you and help you and support you through the night. If so, and then in a lot of cases, then we thought about that and looked at it and said, well, there's a lot of nurses that get wasted during the night when someone needs to go to the toilet or someone needs to get a drink. The nurses have to go running into the room every time someone presses a button. So we set up a family and care system where one person that's nominated can stay with the patient in the hospital, where we have a reclining chair beside the bed, so that so the person can get asleep, and they're there then to be able to help and assist with the patient, and then it takes a lot of pressure off the staff at the hospital as well. So that's a really good like part of the process, that you're able to be involved in that, and then all the steps that we had to take, like to bring that into like scope then as well. It's very interesting.
It's very good, and it's a good idea as well, especially for people with elderly parents, and they're kind of reaching the end of life. It's lovely to be able to be there for them, if you know what I mean, as opposed to they're
Yeah,
just in
yeah.
a hospital.
So even for myself, like been brain injured, like I wasn't, you know what I mean. I wasn't very good at coherent or anything at the beginning. Like, I had to do a lot of relearning, like in the balance and like all of that had to be done. And I wasn't very aware at the beginning. Like, so it really would have helped a lot to have her there with me. Like, but she was having to leave every night at the time and go to a hotel while I'd sit there for 3 or 4 hours struggling and suffering, waiting and calling. And she was like sitting on her own, like more or less crying and worried about what I was doing. So I was like, that's not right. Like, like to put that kind of stress on families, and two people that have traveled halfway across the country together, and she's there supporting me, but like she's got nobody supporting her now, and that's what made me sad, was that they don't think about that, like, and then,
Mm,
yeah. So now, yeah, they've implemented that now, and it's in and everything. It's already part of the scope now. So,
very good, very good, very good. Would you? I'm going to put you on the spot now. Are you a New Zealander now, or would you ever consider coming back to Ireland, or is your life too good, we'll say, now to come back to
well,
hell
that's
we're
the
living
thing.
here?
Like, I really want the boys to grow up in Ireland, like I grew up in Ireland, and I really wanted, like, I guess that was my intention always, to have my kids raised in Ireland. Like, I really did want that. Like, that is like, something that still lives inside me, is the passion to want to bring them there. But then I have to be sensible as a dad now as well. So like, uh, I I pin all my hopes on coming back to Ireland and raising them in Ireland. But the more I look over there now, and the more I see the way the country's going, and why would I want to put them in so much risk? Why would I want to take them away from one of the safest countries in the world, and one of the most prosperous countries in the world, and one of the most overachieving countries in the world? Why would I want to do that and take them to a place where the government doesn't care about the people? That the government literally, like, would not care about them. And like they're young Irish men, I would consider them young Irish men. They would always kind of like, they wouldn't care about them. They would rather care about other people from other nationalities that are coming into Ireland to make them feel comfortable in Ireland, rather than making young Irish people feel comfortable at home. That's what makes me feel sick. Like, I can't do anything to go back to Ireland. I have to do everything like when I get there, and I'll have to set everything up when I'm there, and everything has to be done when I'm there. Whereas all these other people can do everything before they come. And when they come, they arrive and walk in the door of a place, like a hotel or an iPass center or even a house in some cases. Straight off the bus, straight off the boat into a house.
What
Like,
is
come on.
Yeah, what do you believe the driving force behind that is? And you said under the
UN.
Labour government. Yeah,
The UN. It's the
yeah.
UN. 100%. It's the UN.
But what do you think the end goal is, so to speak? Is it literally just voters? Is it tax slaves? Is it
Oh, I think it's just to mix everyone up everywhere, and nobody knows where home is. Everyone's just a mongrel, Nobody knows where their sense of security is anymore. Nobody knows where, their boundaries are. Everybody's going to be in their 15-minute city, but you're going to be in that 15-minute city with absolutely anybody and everybody, and you don't know who's who. And people can be fined for 10 or 12 or 15 years, and then boom, all of a sudden they're going crazy, killing everybody. That's the type of people that you're living with now, and that's what I'm afraid of, is that, like, you look across the world and you see all these Irish people after traveling all over the world and making themselves like home, and like building businesses and building empires, and like really securing themselves in massive like situations. And then you see all these people coming to Ireland, and it's like all they're trying to do is secure like parts of our country. They're buying up like massive areas and massive housing estates, and then changing the whole landscape like overnight. Like,
Mhm.
literally overnight, in certain cases, people have been like, minority now in their own town or their own village.
Yeah.
24 hours ago, they were like, there was 99% like locals.
Do you see? So we go back to spaces again, right? So you probably most of the personalities involved in nationalism, or at least know of them. You know you know the different kind of small political parties, you know all the ideas, you know all the characters, all the kind of spokespeople, etc., etc. Why do you think we have been unable to get our shit together, forming a proper political alternative, or even social idea, to kind of challenge the state? Because we're all over the place. There's nothing
Oh, there's
coherent
too
there.
much nitpicking. It's way too much nitpicking. It's like what anyone that wants to step forward, any decent person that puts themselves out there for the national side of things, or that the right side, they end up getting ridiculed. They end up getting torn to shreds. They end up getting like absolutely like, you would believe that the left would give people, more trouble, and but it's not. It literally comes from inside their own door, their own back door. Like, and I see it myself. Like, I know from just being on spaces and talking to people, and how they misconstrued words, or how they take stuff from out of context, and then spit the same words back out again in another space, but then say it differently to how you've meant it or how you've said it. Or that, to me, drives me bananas. Like, and that's why we don't have strong unity, is because every time someone does anything, so if someone said, "Oh, fuck you," oh, he said, "Fuck you," oh, he just said, "Fuck," oh, and then, oh, let's open up a space and say, "He said, fuck you," and then it's like, it's drama. Like, it's literally like everyone loves that. It's a frequency, right? Once you're on that frequency level, and that's where you get your kick, or that's where you get your dopamine rush, or your high, then that's what you're going to miss that when you don't have it. So you're going to just try and draw for that energy. And so I believe that if you had less loud voices in them spaces that were absolutely like horrid to people for no reason whatsoever, they'll just attack them for, like, even just for personal, like, physical appearances or physical ability. Like, even for the brain injury, I've heard people talk about my brain injury and saying, oh, he's like that because of his brain injury. And I'm like, you don't even understand. Like, have you ever rebuilt a brain, or have you ever like talked about recovery paths, or done any neurology work, or done any psychology work, or no? So I know that I've had the tests done, and I know the way my brain function was and how it is. It's different, yes, but it's all to do with the capacity of empathy and like the feelings and the physical side of things, is different. But the mental side of things is actually better. I'm a lot more like able to listen now in a conversation and actually hear what the person is saying instead of just wanting to say my own words. Because I used to be like that, where I'd be listening to you, but I wouldn't listen to what you're saying, and I'd just go off and say my own words. And I think that's what the big problem is in this national movement, is that there's lots of people like that. They're not listening to what people are saying to them or what they're saying around them. They'll just hear what they want to hear, and then they're going to keep talking. Then, they'll talk on the back of what they've heard and how they've heard it, and not about what was said or how it was said. That's the concerning thing for me, is that where you think that there'd be so much unity and that everyone would get along and that we'd have so much crack, it's the opposite. Everyone just wants to tear the heads off each other and tear each other down and tear each other apart for anything that you might have said or you mightn't have said or whatever. That
Yeah,
hurts me a lot. Like,
I see. I see a lot of what you see, and again, I think quite differently to most people as well. I never had well, geez, the amount of concussions I had, maybe I do have something wrong with me, but I've never thought the same as normal people. And the other thing as well is my opinion is never finished. I'm never set in. I'll never have an ideology because I realize I know nothing in the grand scheme of
yeah,
things.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
tiny,
yeah. No,
tiny
I'm the
bit.
same. I'm just
Yeah,
learning everything. I'm
yeah.
learning. I want to learn. I don't want to judge anyone, like,
Mm,
without knowing them. Like, and a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, this and that." Well, I've heard lots of stories about me, and I know they're not true. So, like,
mm,
all the stories that you hear, they might not be, like, So that's why I just say, don't judge anybody until you've spoken to them yourself, or until you can understand it for yourself.
100%. Yeah, no, I'd
And
have to agree with that. But
you
in
only,
relation to the solutions, so there's kind of a spectrum there of you can go all the way over to your and I have great time for Justin Barrett. I personally like the man, but I'm not a national socialist, nor will I ever be. But you can go. You've got National Socialism, you've got National Party, you've got political entities, you've got Ireland First, you've got Ireland Irish Freedom Party, you've got a couple of other ones. Then you have people the likes of what Elaine Mullally is doing with her kind of little cohorts, which be kind of centre right. You know what I mean? You've got Malik Steenson probably fall into the kind of centre right, or he's probably more centrist than actually right. He's got some right wing talking points, but he'd be more socially. You've this big spectrum, but it's all every single bit of it is right of centre for the most part. And I'd call it conservatism. And I know Irish people don't like that word, but that's what it is. It's conservatism. The natural progression for young men, especially, is we all start out a bit hippy dippy. We do. We all start out as fucking, peace and love and kumbaya, etc., etc. And then you get bills and a mortgage, and you realize, fuck that shit. And as you get older, you get more
yeah,
and more conservative in your thinking and your voting, etc., etc., etc. Because this is the natural order of things. You realize that, oh shit, money actually doesn't go on trees. Oh, I have to actually go and earn this. Oh God, I have to pay taxes. Oh, it's imperative that we have good economic policy so that we'll say my euro goes further and I can provide for my family, etc., etc. This is the natural order of things. That has been lost somewhere along, in my opinion, along the line that people aren't growing out of the hippy dippy phase. And you have these soya boys now that are carrying socialist ideas well into their 40s when they should have dispensed with them in their early 20s. What would your thoughts on that be?
yeah. Yeah, I think that's the media, lads. That's just the way that they've hoodwinked us. Like, that's just the way that they're sharing out the information now. Like, I feel like I, I don't know what it was years ago, whether it was like the fact that we were just reading newspapers and talking to each other and communicating with each other, and whether that was like different to how we take on the media now or something. I don't know what it like. I don't know. Even back then, though, you were still fooled. Like this, the government still fooled you. Like, so, I guess I don't know what it was or what's done that to the men of the world. But I do hear exactly what you're saying in that regard, where like everything seems to be going for longer now, and nobody's kind of waking up until it's too late. They're in their 40s or in their 50s, and then it's like, Jesus, now I need to do it, and then it's like I'm doing it for the next generation now, instead of like instead of understanding for themselves earlier on that these entities, these like networks that you have in these political systems, once they have a certain amount of control, they're not working for the people anymore. They're working for that control. They're working to keep that control over the nation. You know what I mean? And like, so once they have a certain amount of votes, and the same as Fianna Gael and Fianna Fáil, they seem they act like they don't have to do anything anymore. They act like they don't have to work for the people. They act like they don't have to work for their constituents anymore. They're working for Europe. They're working for their next job instead of working for the people. And that's, I feel like it has to be in there somewhere where they're manipulating people into making them think that they don't have to worry about the political system or what's going on above them or around them. They just have to focus on what they're doing. And look, it can come back to the feminism when you think about like how many young women now are coming out in their 40s and in their 50s now and realizing, Jesus Christ, what have I done? I worked my whole life in a career and now I don't have kids and it's too late, and what am I going to do? And then it's like they get depressed and old, and that I don't want that. Like, I don't want a world like that where everybody's battling to be the best at a job that they can do, and then nobody's caring about having children and having the next generation, and then nobody caring about the effects on what we're leaving behind us. Like, we're bringing in all of this crap from China, like all the rubbish that we bring in from like all over the world are bringing all this stuff in from Amazon, all in from China, and wasting it instead of using people in our own villages and towns to create the same type of product and keep it all local and keep the business local. So I honestly feel like it's definitely a media or a manipulative tactic that people are now only waking up when they're older. Like, they don't realize when they're in their 20s and their 30s that they're being hoodwinked and that the government are doing what they're doing. A certain amount of people do, but I can tell you now that I would go back into my group of friends and I would tell you that there's like 7 or 8 of them still that wouldn't have a fucking clue. They probably know now because the protests are on and probably they're out doing all of that. But if I tried to have a conversation with all of this stuff before, they'd be like, "Oh, look, I'll catch you later, lad. Not into
Yeah,
having that now. Like, good luck."
yeah.
All right, good
My
luck. And
my
that's
my
that.
brain, the brain can't deal with it. Have you ever seen the eyes actually glaze over like it's actually like it's a cartoon when you're
Yeah,
talking to
yeah, no.
somebody?
Oh, yeah, like roll
I
up in
did.
your head, roll up in
Yeah,
your head. Oh, for fuck's sake, you're not on
yeah.
about that shite again, are you?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
that's it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a time there. It probably still happens where I might walk into a pub like, and you'd actually see people just kind of scooching down the bar. You know what I mean? Kind of
Yeah,
try,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just to turn the shoulder enough. That you're not showing the full back, but you know what I mean. You're just letting them know, no, I'm not talking to you today.
Oh, shut up, lad. I lost hundreds of friends. I lost hundreds of friends on Facebook there throughout the pandemic period and stuff, like, where
I was
when I
banned
got,
off everything. Yeah, I
yeah,
had no
when I
social
was,
media. Yeah,
yeah, so all my friends are like, log, 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 off and off. And I still haven't got, like, a lot of really good ones too. I
mm,
still think about them, like, so they must have been a good friend. And the
yeah,
fact that they just ended our friendship because they thought I was conspiratorial,
yeah.
when in actual fact, like, all the stuff has come out now to be true. It's like, you
yeah,
bastard, like, you fucking
yeah. I'm.
bastard, you've
Well,
taken
you see,
away 5 or 6 good years of our
here's the
life.
other thing. They'll avoid you for a different reason now.
Oh,
The
they have
people,
done. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. No, like
people,
a few came back.
yeah.
But yeah, the majority of them haven't. No, you're right.
People don't like admitting they were wrong, and people don't like admitting they were fooled. And it's a hard thing. You know what I mean? I do it every now and then. I just kind of wink at somebody, go up, told you so, and I leave it at that, and just walk on with a big smile on my face.
No, it is interesting now to see them like on public posts and stuff. They will put up like, "Oh yeah, congrats," or "Oh, you did this, or you did that." Like, "Oh, well done," you know. But then, like, you cheeky bastard, you fucking don't even fucking message me now. Like, I can't even send you a message. Right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I don't
You'll
know. It's just. Yeah, I
you'll
never
have
want
that.
to bring it up either. Like, I never want to bring it up. I just want them to. Oh, you know what I mean? I laugh the day that the day that that message opens back up again, and they send me a message. I'll be like, "You cheeky bastard," you know. Like, where have
Yeah,
you been for the last 10 years? You know, I presume it'll be 10 years. Maybe when I go home, a lot of them connections will come back when I go home. You know, it'll be like, that's another thing as well. Like, I haven't been home since 2018, so.
wow. So that's a lot. That's a long time. That's a long time. And I suppose in reality, you'll just literally be. It'll be not to be grim or anything like that. It'll be what, maybe a holiday every couple of years. Bring your kids over. Probably get pulled over for a
Yeah,
funeral
no. So
every
we
now and
had
then.
we have had multiple trips planned, and then Jesus Christ, like, life changes like very quickly, like in certain situations. So yeah, we've had a few trip. We had a trip planned for in 2020 when the COVID pandemic struck. So then we didn't. We had to pull back all our money from that, and then then after Albie was born, we were going to do it then, but then loads of stuff happened here in the family where some family members got sick and stuff. So then we just got stuck in then, and we decided like we'd have another baby. So then Lucas was born now, only 11 weeks ago. So yeah, the plan would be to get him home as soon as possible. But now you've got a world war on, so like, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But look, yeah, like you say, it's very expensive. So it's probably like a 15,000 euro holiday. You know, if you're going,
Fucking hell. Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
it's that like when you think about the expenses and stuff, and the amount of time that we'd be there traveling and stuff, because like it takes you about 40 hours to travel over from here. So like you're in the air for about 40 hours or something like that. So
Yeah,
um,
I wouldn't wish that with two young kids on anyone.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah. So like,
I can barely manage airports myself, let alone we never holidayed with the family. We always stayed in Ireland and holidayed in Ireland. But when I had one fella, we went out Lanzarote was 20, must be 20 years ago now. We went once, but outside of that, we didn't do foreign holidays. It was never I never had time. I was always too busy with work, and there was never enough spare cash. You know what I mean, to warrant it, and
yeah, yeah, no, yeah.
I
I know what
wouldn't.
you're
Yeah,
saying. I have a
yeah,
caravan here. I bought a caravan there after the wedding to have that kind of. Like, I had the same, you know. Like, I never had caravan holidays, but like I did with friends and stuff when I was growing up, and I know how much fun they are, and like that's
yeah,
all you really need as a family, you know, is just a little tiny little place for you all to sit so that you can't get away from each other and you're playing games, and
yeah.
you know,
It's
you have
fantastic.
that
Yeah.
time
Well,
together. Yeah.
when you think of how beautiful a country New Zealand is, like, I mean, that's like, and this like there's a couple of different even tropics in New Zealand, isn't there? Like that the
Oh
islands are
yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're down at the very bottom now, very close to Antarctica. So like our weather is like very, very similar to Ireland. Like dull and dreary a lot of the time, and then sun comes out every day. You'd be surprised when the sun comes out, kind of. And then when you move up to Christchurch, let's say you're on a band there where it's like, you know, good weather, like the majority of the time, a lot of the time. Um, and then Nelson, yeah, Nelson's got a very similar. It's on the same line as Tasmania in Australia, so they've got very like tropical, warm, you know, good fishing, like right through the straits there and stuff. It's fucking excellent, like up around that region there for all
Yeah,
different types of game fishing and stuff. And then yeah, then the North Island up in Auckland now is taking all these tropical storms at the moment, like, you know, hurricanes and cyclones, and so they're up right. They get a lot of the fucking a lot of that warm weather off that, like, the tropic. So they get a lot of that. We don't really get it down here, but yeah, they get it up there a lot.
Population wise, what's the population of is it bigger now, or is it still similar to
No, so it's
to
very similar to Ireland. Yeah, very, very similar. I think we're just short of 5 million now here. But the land mass is like, Jesus Christ, it must be 10 times bigger than Ireland.
Is it that much? Is it that much bigger? I didn't realize. I actually didn't realize how big the islands were.
Yeah, so I guess like where what am I now? I'm at the bottom of the South Island, and I think it's about 14 hours driving to the top of the South Island.
Wow,
Yeah, from here
that's
now.
huge. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's massive.
14 hours like on a state highway, yeah, up along the east coast and then through the mountains into the top. But yeah, um, yeah, it's massive country. Jesus, it's massive. Yeah, even the North Island is fat at the bottom, and then it gets very skinny. It's like a big blob of like dirt, I guess. It's got like a big solid center, and then splattered out. It's got like Auckland and stuff, and then Wellington and stuff. But yeah, it's like it's a cool place, man. Volcanic, like the North Island is like a volcano. The South Island is like a fault line running right through it. So like it's got lots of gold and lots of mineral resources and lots of like.
That was actually my next question. I was going to just ask about what's the biggest industry in the South Island? Would it be farming, or is it mining?
Yeah, so farming would be one of the main industries, I guess, when you look at that. I guess now at the moment, gold is really going back up. In like so they've reopened. So the old government, that Labour government, they destroyed all the policies around mining and around resources and stuff. So they made it very, very difficult for people to go out and do any prospecting or anything. But the new government, they've readdressed all of that. So they've said, drill, baby, drill, go out and find whatever you can, like in a sense, like if you can, like go to But I bypassed all of that. When I injured my first shoulder, I was I wasn't able to stay at home, I was kind of a bit fucking antsy in my pants. So I ended up looking around the country, around my area here, and seeing all the gold mines or all the different gold claims that they have on the permit map. So I ended up seeing this guy's name kept popping up, pop up, pop up. I was like, what the heck? This guy's everywhere. So I ended up just Googling his name, and I was like, oh, Jesus, a number came up, a mobile, a phone number came. I was like, this is hardly the same guy. Fucking chance me arm anyway. So I just called the number, and I said, oh, is he there? She's like, no, he's not here, but I can tell him to call you back. And I was thinking, oh, yeah, no worries. He's not going to call me back. Who the fuck is he? The phone rings like half an hour there. Oh, I hear some Irish leprechaun is looking for my gold. Where are you going to find it? And then I was like, yeah, cheeky bastard. Who's talking? And then had a really good conversation with him. And yeah, he told me, look, I've got all these claims here all across the land. Go for gold. If you find anything, like, just let me know where you are and what you're doing and GPS it. And yeah, some good relationships there with him as well, It's good, cool.
So have you ever actually gone prospecting? Like, have you gone?
Oh yeah. I have all the equipment there. I have all the sluice boxes and the sluice runs and everything up to the backyard there. I have everything ready set up, and
Very good.
yeah, I found
Jeez, have you out
flakes.
fucking panhandling, huh?
Yeah. I have the pans, and I've got a few buckets of fucking black sand and gold up there in the back. I'll get Albie out there someday with me now, and I'll clean it all up. Just throw it through the sluice, and yeah, throw it in the
Very good.
jar. It's just
Very
fun,
good.
but there's some really cool places here, and I guess as the boys grow up now, to have the access onto them claims until 2035, 2038 or something in some cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's massive. Like, I could take them wherever. Like, and a lot of the camping sites and stuff are very close to the regions as well, because obviously they were old Chinese the Chinese ground. That when the Chinese came over here to do the mining, they set up a lot of like little settlements and camps and
Yeah,
stuff. So they
very good.
turned a lot of them into like yeah. Huh?
There's a bit of infrastructure there, so to speak.
Yeah, well, the Chinese came and then the Europeans came. So the Chinese came here first and they mined it all up. They done as much as they can off the ground. And then, but sure, the Europeans arrived over then. They had hydro and they had all the stuff with them, all the pumps and stuff. So they just done a whole another job on the land altogether with the runs that they put in, with the washing out of the ground and stuff. You know, the way that
Yeah,
they
yeah,
just put
yeah,
in
yeah.
massive sluice runs into the ground and then just washed it all down with a hose. Very similar to how they get the diamonds out of the mines over there in like Africa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They just
It's
put
quite,
the
it's
boys
quite, it's
in.
quite, it's quite destructive, though, isn't it? It's
Oh fucking Jesus, yeah.
yeah.
But like the thing about gold mining is that what they do, like what oh sorry.
I grant.
What the general gold miners do over here, is that they'll reclaim the land. So they'll get the land back. They'll get the land back than it ever was before. So they'll reclaim the land better than it was. So they'll dig out the land, right, and then they'll fucking do whatever they have to do, take the minerals out of it in most cases, and then they'll put the land back together again, and they'll put the river through there again, and like they'll put in all the ravines again. So you'd hardly even know. You know what I mean? Like they've
Also,
gone
they're
through
actually,
there.
kind of rebuilding as they go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Very good.
that's the whole perspective. Like there's a couple of really interesting claim sites here in New Zealand where one lad has a floating dredge on his own. He works the claim all on his own. So he fills up a pond in front of him. And then he digs up all of the ground with the bucket, and then the bucket drags him along, and then he dumps the stuff out behind him. And so that just fills the pond behind him.
Yeah,
And so he just keeps digging out in front of him on a floating dredge in a pond, and then like the water just
yeah.
keeps him
He's,
afloat, and he just
he's just moving forward slowly the whole time.
yeah, and then just emptying and dumping it out. And so Parker Schnabel, the American guy off Gold Rush, he was
Yeah,
over there and he was like, "That's fucking genius, you know. Why are we moving it? We don't even need to move it. We can just take the stuff out, leave it there, and drive away." So yeah,
that's
now the
fucking, that's fucking ingenious. That's fucking really clever. Fucking
I
hell.
know, yeah, I know, unbelievable. Like he just has the tailings behind him, so like I
And is he
guess.
is he is he actually making money? Is he actually finding gold? Is he finding small
Oh
amounts
yeah,
of
yeah, massive, massive goal. Yeah, New Zealand's full, lad. It's like literally like the veins are popping out of the fault line all over the place. Like
fucking hell?
the fault line runs right down through the center of the South Island, more or less.
It's surprising that it's not would say suppressed to the way the way they like to keep the commodity prices high. That if you did have a huge amount of gold hitting the market, or like a vein was very accessible, and there was a huge amount of gold there, like it has huge knock-on effects, so to speak, on the on the gold market. It's surprising that they're not putting up barriers to stop people fucking trying to get it.
No, they have barriers. Yeah, yeah. So they have like like that man. Now he would have paid a lot of money back, but he was lucky enough that he got the mineral rights. He got the rights to these prospecting claims years ago. So like nobody had any interest in it like 10 years ago when the prices were
Right.
as low as they were and it was harder to get. But there was always an interest here. Like there was always been a keen interest here. But like I guess the way the governments talked about it and moved people away from it and made it like, like dirty, I guess, in a sense,
Yeah.
to be mining. It pushed a lot of people away. But then as soon as the prices went up, everyone was like, right, going back into the garage, getting their dredges out, like, like
Yeah.
dusting off the boots, like, let's go, kind of.
Yeah, fucking. Do you know what? I've never lived in a mining community, but it's always something I'd love to do. No, I'd probably end up working in the catering department. I'd just be cooking the lunches and stuff like that. But I'd love to experience it for a month or two, just to see. I've never seen a massive fucking industrial operation.
Yeah, it's different
I'd be
now.
very
Like
curious. Yeah,
it's very different now. So there's so much machinery out there now, right? Like that years ago, when the Irish people came over here first, like in the beginning of the gold rush, let's say, in the historical references there, like that when you look at the videos and you look at the pictures and stuff, you see that these people were in the thousands, all sitting along the river bank and all panning for gold. Now, in the first year of mining in Skipper's Canyon, 220,000 ounces of gold came out of the canyon, all panned only, hand panned only. 220,000 ounces in 1 year, all on hand pans. So
That's
when you think that now, that is still the richest river in the world. That quality is still the richest in the world at that level. So yeah, it's some of the richest veins in the world run through this country, like, and yeah, they've got really good minerals here. They've got jade here. They've got, like, oil in the ground themselves. There's a massive they live on a whole big massive plate of land, Zealandia, that's just under the seabed.
yeah.
Like, very easy to explore.
I was going to say, can they go down that far? Can they actually get? Can they?
Yeah, they have been exploring it. Yeah, there is some very high potential around the region. Yeah,
Mm.
you know that, like, already. That's why a lot of people, Chinese and China and stuff, are snooping around.
As they do, yeah, they do it in Africa as well. Ireland, like, is there any unexplored minerals on the landmass of Ireland that you're aware of? Like, is there any silver left? Is there any copper left?
Oh,
Is there?
gold! There is gold in the mountains there, in the Black Stairs Mountains and stuff there, and in Wicklow, in the what the fuck, Vale of Avoca and stuff. There is gold in that region there. Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's just unexplored. There is gold mining companies. There is gold mining companies in Ireland. I didn't. I only just recently found out about them and researched them and stuff.
They've been surveying the west coast of Ireland for a very, very, very long time, and I know this because I've been tracking the survey plane and where it's where it flies over. And there's something, actually, James Conway spoke about this. I can't remember whether he spoke about it publicly or it was a private conversation, but we talked about it, and he reckons that something's been found somewhere, or they know something is there's a lot of something in down the west coast of Ireland, because it's West Kerry, it's kind of North Cork, it's Clare, kind of up into Galway, that this plane has been and it is a survey plane. But it's nothing to do with it's nothing to do with maps or anything like that. It's nothing to do with they're looking for something. They're looking for some mark or something like that, or they're marking out areas.
Yeah. But that would be
So
seasonal work. You'd have to be very fucking careful about what you'd be setting up there on the Atlantic coast of, whatever
yeah,
whatever rig you'd be setting up there.
I don't think it's on the sea. I think it's on the land. Well,
Oh, right.
yeah,
Wow.
so I'll be watching it closely. I'll be if I hear some farmers getting bought out or something like that, or
Yeah, no, I do know that they have been talking in the north there. There is a region in the north there, a mountain range in the north, that the lads have been talking about recently there, that they are gold mining in now, and they've had, like, some response in the town where the people are not very happy.
yeah.
Um, that's how that company, I can't think of the name of the company now, but there was a few people that, when I looked at the company then and I realized who they were, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, what are you doing, like, looking for gold in Ireland, or what is their plan? Like, like, it's all
There's
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's this to me. There's always something going on, and there's always somebody trying to make money. And these big massive entities are pretty fucking ruthless. You know what I mean? Your mining industry
yeah.
is no different. Your oil
I'll go
industry.
back down this road again. It's a spider web, right? As soon as you look at these names and you look at these industries, and then you're like, oh fuck, and then you see, oh, he's connected to that one. Oh, hold on. Oh, and then his brother works in that. Oh, okay, and then his sister-in-law, she runs that. Oh, right, okay. So it's
Yeah,
like my head splits. I'm like, oh, go away from me, lads,
yeah,
because I know, like, the lads
yeah.
talk about all these different people and these entities and stuff, but I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, okay.
It all pretty much eventually goes back to a couple of families, doesn't it? But we
It
leave that.
does. It does. And I'd say, look, as I said to Kieran in many spaces before, it just seems to be a common theme that in the leaders, in the seats at the top of these organizations, there's always that blue and white flag, with the star there. That, like, I'm like, oh, and then here's the chairman, and then he's the vice chairman, and then he's the. Like, Oh fuck! Like every company you look at, like everyone that's connected to that has always got the, And like, look, I know, but like, I guess you just have to try and weed your way through all of these things to figure out, why they've have so much power in their country first.
Yeah.
Why are they even able to come in and do what they're doing in outside our country? It's not them that's the problem. It's the rats that are in the doll that are allowing these people to come in
Yeah.
and act the way they want inside the country that they're forming in.
Mm. I always say, like I said, I'm not fighting against men. I'm fighting against systems. And if you can fix the system or tweak the system, as you said, to lock these entities out, it doesn't really matter who you have in there. You can have a dickhead as a politician as long as he's not overly corrupt. I'll even go so far as to I will accept a small level of corruption, if you know what I mean. The old school brown envelopes, you know what I mean. Sure, I'll give the lad, the tarmac lad I know that I went to school with. Sure, I'll give him the contract to do the roads locally. You know what I mean. Nobody passes the purity test. Nobody's pure. Nobody's perfect. You know what I mean. Nepotism exists, and you'd give a small amount of leeway and a small amount of slide. Do you know what I mean? Because if you think
Yes.
about it, you do it yourself. You know what I mean? If you had a family member come over to New Zealand and they want to get set up, and you had fucking a contract you could give them, of course you're going to fucking give it to them because you want your fucking brother to do well. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
I'm a little bit forgiving for small amounts of corruption because I understand humanity, and like I said, nobody passes the purity test. We're all flawed. This global level corruption where you're actually doing harm, that's different. You know what I mean? There's levels of greed I'll accept, and there's levels of greed I won't accept. Like a prime
Mm.
example would be Michael Healy-Rae down in Kerry.
Mm.
He is ruled by the euro and the dollar. That's his god. That's who he worships. That's what he worships, and that is a dangerous man that needs to be removed from the system. Lowry's the same in North Tipperary. He's ruled by power. You know what I mean? These are the guys you need to get rid of, not some fucking lad who gave a small contract to, you know what I mean, the brother-in-law or something like that to give him a dig out or like that. They're not perfect, but you're never going to get perfect people in politics. The people who claim to be the most perfect, which would be the Marxists, who would say, "Oh, everybody's going to get a taste of the pie," kind of thing. They're actually the most fucking dangerous. The ones who claim to be pure are the
Oh,
ones
100%, hundred
that will
percent.
they will bring death, starvation, misery, violence upon us all. So I'll take a slightly corrupt being politician over a Marxist any day. So
Yes.
that's where we're at. I We're hitting that the hour and a half mark, and like I said, look, it's a case of I don't go for 3 or 4 hours because it's people's time is precious. You know what I mean? So I always want to like to finish on a positive. Um, so you've your life set up. You have your sons, you have your boys. I hope you have more kids in the future. You've got a wife, you've got a career. Everything is hunky dory, tickety boo. If I gave you the magic stick, what would you do to fix your home country? Where do we start, or where do we finish? What is the ultimate solution, so to speak?
Yeah. Okay. Look, I'm a free speech. I'm a free speech absolutist, right? I want everyone to be able to say what they have to say. I guess accountability, right? That's one thing would be accountability. That would be the first step, I would say, right? No matter what, like if you're going into a government office, it's if it, like you can have your little, your bits and pieces and whatever, like your backhanders and whatever you're doing, like to get yourself into that position, like that, you have your friends, your constituents that helped you, your mates that dragged you up by when you were down, they brought you back up, all of that, yes. But if you're going to go in to a government position of power and you're going to be able to lead over, like Helen McEntee, for instance, now she can go in there to a child, into the education ministerial role, sign off on many controversial things, right? Bring a lot of stuff into office there that shouldn't be brought in anywhere near children, right? And then she walks out the door, and 24 hours later, she's sitting in a foreign ministerial role and signing over on deals that being done with foreign ministers of other nations, which she has no education on. She's got no brain, no training on. That there's no accountability there. She doesn't care about what she's signing because the next person that comes along behind her is going to be like, oh yeah, Helen did this, oh what, and then doesn't matter. We'll do it differently next time. No. Like you need to be held accountable in your positions of power. And anybody that's fighting for that position of power needs to know that when they take on that responsibility, with that comes that level of, are going to be held accountable for every single thing that you do, every action that you make. You need to be held accountable for that. And you need to be able to stand up in front of your constituents and say, this is why I done that for you. This is why I done that for you. Because that's who you're working for. You know what I mean? You're not working for Europe. You're not working for the government. You're working for the people that elected you to be there. So, step one, accountability. That would be the first thing. And then step two would be a 6-month or a 1 year review of how that minister is working in their position. Are they doing what's deserved or what's right of them in their role? How much have they accomplished? How much have they achieved? Where have they brought that to? What level are they looking at next? Where are you looking at this being in 10 years' time? I don't want anyone anymore looking at their role as just my role in what I'm going to do now. I want everybody looking at that role as to they're 20 years down the line. You know what I mean? I'm looking 20 years ahead here for this. Because that's what we know that these families that we talk about, they're looking there. They're looking 20, 30 years down the line with education platforms and the systems that they bring into our children and the way that they want to educate them. And even like what we've just touched on there with people becoming 40 years of age and still in the mindset of a 20-year-old. All of that is all done by the same kind of design. And that all needs to be removed. And there needs to be accountability and then reviews done on how much product and how much productivity, whatever it is that's coming from the work that you're doing. And if you cannot stand in front of your constituents or your group, your committee, and say to them at the 6-month mark, yeah, here we go. We've got this already lined up. This is ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. And then at the year mark, you're after hitting a target. Boom, you stay in your job. If you don't hit that target, if you're not doing well enough, then someone else is going to be there that's going to be looking at what you're doing and saying, I can do this better. And they believe they can do it better. Let's get them in there. If they can't do it better, 6 months you're out. Do you know what I mean? And it gives everyone the accountability. If they're doing something and every 6 months they're achieving something and every year they're hitting another mark and then okay, boom, you stay where you are. If you're hitting all the marks and you're doing all the right jobs and you can answer to everybody around you all the time, then why are we changing you? Why are we removing you? When you finish your 4 years in office or whatever it is, move on. Someone else will step in to do that job. But you could be assisting there for them. You can guide them. You can educate them and to how to do it the way that you were. What I'm trying to say is that that's what we're taking away from our people by removing the workshops, the community centers, they're removing all of the ability for us to be able to pass down that generational knowledge to our kids and to our grandkids and to the next generation after us. That's what we need to be doing in government. We need to be passing down the ways that things are done correctly to the people that are coming in behind them so that the system stays the same. Whoever comes in there can work the system, but they're working to the Constitution of Ireland. They're working for the people. Do you know what I mean? They're getting paid by the people. They're working for the people. And that should be their first thing every day when they go in and sit down. Is that, okay, what am I going to do today for the Irish people? That is it. And if they'd done that, then we'd have no problems. We wouldn't be having these conversations now, worried about the future of our country, because we know exactly where it's going to be for the next 20 years already. If we had people thinking like that.
Mr. Anthony Keenan, thank you very much for joining me in a conversation. It's probably getting late enough for you in the evening time. You probably have work in the morning. I'm going to drop you down, stay in the green room. I want to chat to you afterwards. Again, thank you for taking your time. I know you have a young family, and like I said, it's evening time for you over there. Really fantastic conversation. I always say to people, I always say to people that, look, basically things change. I always say, will you come on again in the future, maybe 2-3 months time, and we do it again and see what's changed or what's different, or and look, I'll probably come across you on Spaces anyway in the coming days and weeks. Thank you very much again. Just stay there. I'm just gonna play the outro. That was a fantastic conversation just between two ordinary men. Lads have worked all their lives. He's starting his young family. Mine are raised. We're in different places. I reckon we're not too far removed age-wise. Just at different stages of our life. I definitely want to talk to him about gold mining in New Zealand again. Very, very interesting. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.